Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And this week, as usual, we have a really interesting guest. Suzanne Giesemann is here today. And, you know, if you're not familiar with her, you will be pretty soon. She is a former U.S. Naval commander, and she is now a medium. And she's an amazing medium, and we are so blessed to have her on the show today. But before I bring her on, you guys know how I do it. I always like to talk about what's going on with the state of humanity. And I pulled a couple things up today. I'm going to read to you, try to make this brief, but I just pulled this up. We're recording the show, so it is December 1st while I'm recording, but this just came across on the internet. Bipartisan group of lawmakers roll out $908 billion coronavirus relief plan. And this I thought was worthy of talking about real quick here. So Washington says a bipartisan group of lawmakers rolled out a $908 billion coronavirus relief plan that would provide aid to state and local governments, small businesses, and jobless Americans, but not include another round of stimulus checks, as Democratic leaders in the White House remain deadlocked on another economic package, and the clock on crucial relief programs set to expire at the end of the year ticks down. Now, the 4-month proposal from the looks like coalition here will provide state and local government facing a cash crunch due to declining revenues with 160 billion, and small businesses with 288 billion, including through the Paycheck Protection Program. It also allocates 82 billion for education and 16 billion for vaccine development and distribution, as well as testing and contact tracing. So I thought that was really interesting. They are working on this, and it looks like maybe we're going to make some headway. Now, so I guess that's good news, but I always like to bring out some more good news. And I thought this was really interesting, you guys. They're calling it a beaver full moon with lunar eclipse, and it says it's happening. I'm into the stars and the moons and everything, so I thought this was really interesting. So if you were up early hours this morning, you may have noticed the full moon turning a shade or so darker red. This is interesting. What you were seeing is called, no, I hope I don't botch this, penumbral lunar eclipse, caused by the moon dipping behind the Earth's fuzzy penumbra, or outer shadow, and the subtle shading affected peak at 4:32 a.m. Eastern Time, November 30th, when, according to NASA, 83% of the moon was in the shadow of our planet. Now, NASA has also given a list of names. November's full moon is known by the Algonquin tribes have long called the cold moon after the long frozen nights. All the others known it as the frost moon. That's interesting. While an old European name is oak moon. So perhaps because of the ancient Druid traditions that involve harvesting mistletoe, I love mistletoe, from oak trees for the upcoming winter solstice. So that's really cool, you guys. Check out that moon. I love getting out there and checking out the stars, and it's just good to get out there. Now, hey, I'm going to bring on Suzanne Giesemann here today, but let me give you a little information. And just so you guys know, I watched her Amazon movie. It's about her life, and it's about what happened to her going from transition to a Navy commander to a medium. And it's so interesting, and you have to check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's called Messages of Hope. Okay, and that's the name of one of her books, and it's also the name of her radio show, so we'll talk to her about that. But she's a retired Navy commander. She served as a commanding officer and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. She now serves humanity as a verified evidential medium and a messenger of hope. She's the founder of The Awakened Way, A Path to Knowing Who You Are and Why You're Here. She's an author of 13 books. She's an inspirational teacher and a speaker. She's been a keynote presenter for international organizations, including Edgar Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment, the Academy for Spiritual and Consciousness Studies, and the International Association for Near-Death Studies. She's led weekend retreats. She's just a really interesting, gifted lady. Hey, welcome to High Road to Humanity, Suzanne.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here today. It's nice to talk to you. And if you don't mind, I know your story, but the audience doesn't know your story. So tell us your story. I know you probably told it a lot of times, but what happened? How'd you become a medium?
Try to do it differently each time. The most important point is that now I communicate with those who have passed as a medium, but I'm not what people call a born medium. I didn't realize that I would ever be doing this work. I didn't grow up seeing spirits or being empathic or psychic. It was the death of my stepdaughter in 2006 that started me meditating every day, and that just opened up a whole new world. But as you can imagine, you read my biography to everyone, it was quite a switch to go from very left brain, logical, analytical way of living to now becoming more balanced, still being left brain and analytical and even skeptical, yet absolutely convinced beyond any doubt from all of the evidence that comes in from across the veil that we are also souls now, not just when we die. It's just been a fascinating journey.
Well, yeah, and I have to say, I just think it's amazing that you've done this work, and I get you completely, because same thing happened to me. Once I started to meditate and started to do this work, then you start to pick things up, and then you wondered, like, didn't you wonder, is this real?
Oh, at first it was just put me in a daze to realize there's a greater reality that's so much more open, free, limitless than this one. So we can have adventures in consciousness and yet still ask for evidence in the middle of them to show us that this is very real.
Now, what did your colleagues think? I'm just curious. Did you have people, I saw a little bit on the documentary about one of your colleagues that you worked with, but I mean, do you do readings for them? And I also want to asking you all these questions. Do you do psychic readings too, or just mediumship?
I set the intention before every session that the greatest good be served, whatever this person needs. I ask what their intention is, and most people come to me because they want to hear from loved ones with evidence. Okay. But many times they may need some information or some guidance, and if that's meant to happen, it comes through. But my main intention is the mediumship aspect of it. Okay. The first question was what?
You're so cute. So the people that work with you,
yes,
some of your former colleagues, have you done readings for them as well?
I have not. I became aware of my abilities and really honed them and started practicing 6 years after I retired from the Navy. So I've encountered just a few of them, and there are several who follow my work now, and we stay in touch. But I actually haven't done readings for them. I really focus on those who are in pain and grief, that really need that reading, not just somebody who's curious about it.
Right. And I appreciate the work you do, because there's a lot of people out there who've lost loved ones and they just can't find peace within themselves. And when you're able to bring that in, isn't that gratifying that you can bring them some peace from their loved
that's
ones?
what's really cool about this work, Nancy, is that when you have a reading, and I know this from personal experience, it was a reading my husband and I had that brought through my stepdaughter. Her death is what started me on this path. And we went to see a medium. And the healing, that the evidence that our Susan was there in the room with us brought us, changed my whole life, my whole worldview. So that's my goal, not just in the moment healing, but the awareness that if there is a greater reality, then maybe I can tap into it. Maybe I'm a soul too. And then you really start to find the peace within yourself. So it's a blessing all around.
It is a blessing all around. And I feel like we're starting to wake up. I feel like the world is starting to wake up to this type of mediumship to understanding that we're just souls and we're energy in our bodies, and then we move on. Do you feel that way too? Do you see that people are starting to be more awake and aware of what's happening here with the energy?
I see it all the time, but I'm a bit perhaps in a bubble because I have so many beautiful members of this community of kindred spirits who follow the work,
Right.
that I may not be aware of the mass of humanity that still needs to wake up. But certainly people are becoming more and more on board with the concept that there's more to this life than just the drama that we're engaged in.
Well, yeah, and I see that too. And I see on one hand a lot of people waking up, and then I see on the other hand they're going the other way. It's almost like you either get it or you don't, and it's kind of it's almost like a separation I see of what's happening right now. Do you get any messages about the evolution of humanity right now that you'd like to
Oh, I
share?
sure do. Yeah, I've been channeling my guides
Cool.
for 10 years now. We get daily messages, and then I do special sessions when I bring them through. And from the beginning and to today, they
Cool.
continue to say that they haven't lost hope in us. They're here to guide us. And they say that if you were to see our planet as they do, it's like a dimmer switch on a light that just keeps getting brighter little by little.
Oh,
It's
wow.
very obvious that we have a long way to go. So they jokingly, lovingly say, we can remember the dark ages, and we as humanity are pretty much now in what they would call the dim ages, which is an improvement.
I love it. Well, we are beings of light, and we've lost that, we really, and I'm so happy that you do this work, because the more people that can realize that we are beings of light and we're supposed to be joyful, happy souls, but for some reason we've lost that spirituality part. And it's nice to see that you're doing this work now on your radio show. You've been doing that for about 3 years. Why'd you start the radio show? What was the intention there?
Well, Unity Radio actually reached out to me and asked me if I would be a
Wow.
host to bring hope to people. And that's why, again, the show is called Messages of Hope.
Love it.
And so I bring in many of my guests have had a loved one pass, and their life has been transformed as a result, to show that one doesn't have to remain in grief forever. Then I also have a lot of guests who've had near-death experiences or spiritually transformative experiences, because it's scientifically proven that listening to other people's stories of transition actually makes us more apt to have them ourselves.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, listen, we're getting ready to go to commercial break, but you guys, I'm here today with Suzanne Giesemann. She is a medium. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, it's Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Suzanne Giesemann. We're talking about mediumship. Hey, Susan, have you had any of your own relatives come through to you and give you messages?
That's so perfect, because I was just sitting here wondering how I could just mention that my stepdaughter who passed, her name is Susan, and I'm actually Suzanne.
Oh, you're Suzanne. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that question is the perfect lead-in, because the whole reason I got into mediumship is to connect with Susan myself.
Okay.
And it took several years. I don't want to tell people that you just instantly open up. There's some
Right.
work we have to do to tune our vessel, the instrument. But
Mhm.
she's come through in beautiful ways with evidence every time. Things I didn't know going on in other family members' lives now that we were able to validate. But I didn't really need the validation, because I can feel her. I hear her. There's
Okay.
just no doubt she's in the room. But for those who don't have my inner experience, the validation is just so welcome.
Right. Now, have you seen, when my father passed last year, God was good to me, and I saw him briefly, and he did the old wave and said goodbye. And I know he's around, but that was the only time I really saw. And that was a blessing. But do you see sometimes or no?
Yeah, that's a misconception that people have about mediums, that we all see the spirits.
Right.
It's true, they're standing here, but it's like a different channel. And some people are just so perfectly tuned to that channel that they see them, or those across the veil really turn up their light to make themselves known. But I have yet to see a spirit in form,
Okay.
but that doesn't keep us from knowing them through the other soul senses that we have.
Right, I'm with you. I'm with you. Now, on your website, you talk about HemiSync, and I want to talk about this because she has a wonderful website. You guys check it out. It is, just so you know, it's Suzanne Giesemann.com. I'm going to get this right, SuzanneGiesemann.com. And so check that out. But on there, you talk about HemiSync. You offer some classes. What is this? Explain this to me and to the audience.
HemiSync is a technology where sound engineers overlay meditative music or any music with what's known as binaural beats
Okay.
by the two hemispheres of the brain.
Right.
Hear the different tones in each ear, and it causes the left and right hemispheres to go into a state of synchronization.
Okay.
So I call them training wheels for meditation. You may not even notice the tones, but you will notice that you drop into an expanded state and a deep state of meditation much easier. I read the reviews of my HemiSync recordings on the HemiSync company's page, and it's so rewarding because people who have been meditating for years experience a whole new level of clarity, of depth, of experiences.
So how does it work? So if you decide you want to do this, then you go onto your website and you download the meditations, and like you said, the sounds are there, and over time it changes the way you are able to meditate. Is that right?
Well, yes, the first series of recordings that I did is part of my mediumship series, but it's not just for people who want to be mediums. It's for anybody who wants to learn to connect across the veil. Right. And so my guides, who we call Sanaya, actually dictated the guidance that I narrate on those recordings. So the instructions come straight from spirit. Then those instructions are overlaid with beautiful music specifically selected for the exercises, and the binaural tones are on there. So yes, you can get to it two ways: straight through the HemiSync website or through my website on the HemiSync page. But they're both MP3 downloads, and you can get hard copy CDs, and each one comes with a really nice explanatory booklet that I put together.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I thought that was really cool that you do that, and you do a mediumship, series on your website, and I thought that was really nice to help other people, because it's kind of scary sometimes. I will say that. I can remember, I'm an empath, and I can remember starting to feel energy of other people, and sometimes you don't want to feel that stuff, and it can be scary. So it's really nice that you did that series to help folks.
Yeah, once we realize that we are light beings, as you said, and that this light is our inner core, we turn up the light, and that's our innate protection. The scariness comes from misconceptions, from new experiences, and not knowing how to pigeonhole those into our past experience. So we welcome all experiences, and then there are tools to know how to handle them.
Okay, that's really interesting. So when you got into this, how did your husband feel about it? Is he into it too, or was he just like shocked, or how did that work?
My husband is a retired Navy captain. He drove destroyers and battleships.
I know.
So he did not marry a medium. He married a Navy officer, and then I retired, and this all unfolded. But the thing is, he knows me. He knows that I don't lie. I don't embellish stories. And I would have these experiences where I would bring through spirits for other people with so much evidence. I shared every one of them with him, and he couldn't deny that this was really happening. Then when I started channeling my guides, that was a whole new level of different experience. And again, he attended those sessions and said, Suzanne, that's not you. And he started asking questions of the guides during the channeling sessions, and was very satisfied with the answers he received, and again knew that I didn't have the knowledge that they were sharing. So he is totally on board. It's not really his thing, but completely supports me, and is just such a gift to this work.
Yeah, and it changes your life, because if you were afraid to die before or anything like that, or if you're afraid of death, you realize you don't need to be afraid, because this isn't it. It changes your whole perception.
Completely. The peace that imbues one's life when you realize that okay, I'm going to die, and the sadness is true. Our loved ones who are supposedly left behind, allegedly, left behind will suffer. We do suffer. That's the human part of us.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
to know that what awaits us is truly magnificent, we can bring that awareness here and live in that awareness and truly bring heaven to earth.
You know, that's so funny that you say that. I have another lady who I've had on the show so much, and Maureen St. Germain, and she always says, wake up in the morning and say, this is that day of heaven on earth.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, it's nice that you said that, because it's the intention that you put out to the universe that really makes the difference. Now, tell me, as far as all the different people that you do one-on sessions. So if somebody, or one-on-one sessions. So if a member of the audience would like to get in touch with you, how do they book a session with you?
They have the patience of Job.
I love it.
I haven't added to my waiting list in over a year because it got so long, and it's still a 3-year wait. So I'm not taking new clients right now, but
no.
if people reach out, we do refer to 4 mediums who have trained with me,
Okay.
who I trust, who are friends, who are outstanding mediums. So nobody's request goes unanswered.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. Hey, that's wonderful. I mean, the work you're doing is fantastic. Now, some of the messages that you have been heard from your guides as far as the COVID, what do you come up with? Can you tell us? I feel like it's going to subside a little bit. It's not going to go away. I feel like we're going to get back to some normalcy in 2021. What's your feeling on that?
My guides have not done any predictive work whatsoever. However, they've continued to reassure us from the very beginning that this is just an incredible opportunity to learn to face our fears and to see them in new light. And boy, isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. It made us stay home. It made us go within. It made us really decide what's important in life, didn't it? Yeah. It's been quite interesting. Although we've lost a lot of people, it has made people go in and figure out what's important. As far as you do, I see here you do an 8-week training, and that's coming up on December 2nd. Do you want to talk about that? That's on your website. I know you've got that coming out.
Sure, that's just one of several online courses, but this one is going to be live for 8 weeks. The registration will remain open for several weeks because the classes are always then posted the next day in video form. It's through the Shift Network, and it's all about soul-to-soul communication. So I have several online courses already that are not live, and they're specifically the how-tos of traditional mediumship, doing readings, but they also help people learn to connect with their own loved ones. This class in soul-to-soul communication covers all of that, but it's much more about how we can tap into any realm of being from the soul level and how we can serve others and ourselves by doing so.
Wow. And is that complimentary, or is there a cost, or?
Oh, no, that's the Shift Network, and there is a cost, but I find it's actually very reasonable.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't even realize if there was a cost to that. I think that's wonderful. You do offer a free ebook, also, The Awakening, and I thought that was really interesting that you do that.
I could mention I have a whole gift page on my website with meditations and ebooks and a lot of goodies for folks.
I think that's awesome that you do that. That's wonderful. Hey, listen, we're getting ready to go to commercial break, but you guys, I'm here today with Suzanne Giesemann, and she is a medium, and we're talking about what it's like after death. And this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Suzanne Giesemann, and we're talking about mediumship. Suzanne, what's the coolest thing that you've encountered doing a reading for somebody? Anything really interesting, or that you'd like to share? Any good stories that you'd like to tell the audience?
There are so many, Nancy. I continue to this day after doing years to get so wowed and awed by those across the veil, their creativity, their cleverness, their humor, their loving messages. So to me, the coolest thing is seeing the change in my clients who come in with desperate grief, and for them to realize their loved one is right here with us. That is the best thing ever. I know that feeling personally from having a reading, and my Susan came through when we were desperate to know, is this real? But
Right.
it's the evidence that just knocks our socks off. But I also hear from pets. And I think one of the coolest pet readings was when this one pet was actually speaking to me in words. That's how it came through, and the brain changed the telepathic energy
Right.
to words that I would understand. But
Right.
it was so evidential that that the woman whose cat it was and I were just awed at the end.
That's crazy. Now, I always believe, and I'll ask your take on this. I think our pets go to heaven, and that when we go, to a different dimension or where we're at, that we do reunite with them. Is that what you pick up too?
Oh, absolutely. But let's make it much easier than that.
Okay.
There's nowhere else those pets want to be than with you. So when they pass, you can find them the next night in your bed with you if they used to sleep in your bed. They're still hanging out
Okay.
with us. We're just
Okay.
not aware of them until uh, we cross in many cases. But no, continue to talk to your pets, please, because they're right there with you.
Yeah, and I had the angel whisperer on last week, and we were talking about guardian angels. And everybody has a guardian angel. Now, when you do your mediumship readings, do you pick up the guardian angels of the people?
I simply refer to them as guides. And if
Ah,
they have a message that needs to be transmitted, they do barge in on the reading. There's a certain energy that is a bit higher, and I pass that along. But I would say that only happens about 5% of my readings.
okay, that you get the angels and yeah. And I think a lot of people who have had children die really need the a confirmation. Do you have a lot of parents that come to you? I would imagine you do.
Ooh, that's the majority of my clients because of my support with the group called helpingparentsheal.org. They
Oh, I
do.
didn't know you did that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I refer people there. I speak to the groups as often as I can
Okay.
because unlike other support groups where people are still just lost in their grief years later, the energy at Helping Parents Heal meetings is actually uplifting because they celebrate the evidence that their kids send from across the veil. They know their kids are with them and don't want us to be sad. They encourage mediums and looking for signs and
Stuff like that.
doing so with evidence. So it's just a very positive group. You have people who are brand new and still in the throes of grief, and they look around and they say, I want to be like that person someday. I don't want to stay like this forever. I
Right.
will always grieve my loved one, but I can still have joy in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a catch-22 because people are realizing that there's more than they thought in a lot of cases when a child dies, and even though it's a tragic situation and they go to a medium and they reunite with their children, then it kind of opens their minds up as well to a different way of thinking.
Yeah, indeed. It's like the mind shift that we need to make to realize we are both human and a soul right now. We
Hmm.
can both grieve and celebrate that our loved ones are enjoying a new chapter of their life and that we still get to have a relationship with them now moving forward together.
Right. And you encourage that. Like I've had some different people on my show, and they do some journaling, some writing, like, you know, um, I guess I want to say more of a getting information from their past loved one, and they're writing down the messages. Do you get that? Do you offer that, or do you recommend that, or
Oh,
do you
yes,
see
that's
that
part of
as
my
well?
upcoming course. We call it automatic writing or inspired writing. It's one of the
Okay.
best ways to connect with our loved
Yeah,
ones.
I thought so too. Yeah, because, and I do that too, because you get this coming through. It's like when I write a book, and you've written so many books, and I bet you felt the same way when you were writing your book. The information just flowed because it was coming from somewhere else, and you just wrote it down on the page, right?
That's right. I'm given the outline. I know roughly how
Right.
it's going to go. I connect at the heart. We start writing. I never know how a chapter is going to end. So it's really fun Just
Yeah.
there it comes, and you just say, wow, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's wonderful. Another thing that I've talked about on the show, but I wanted to mention is signs of loved ones. You see a butterfly, like you talk about in your documentary, and you might want to mention that. And we talk about, I see birds all the time, cardinals and yellow birds, and those are signs from our loved ones. Can you address that a bit?
I'd love to, because if you're new to signs and you hear, oh, I see butterflies or birds, so what? You're right. We see birds and butterflies. It's the timing, and it's something different that those birds or butterflies do. In my movie, you see the butterfly right when I was begging to see from my stepdaughter. A butterfly flew in, circled me, bounced into my heart, flew straight down the trail to my husband, circled around him, bounced into his heart. That's specificity. My favorite one, Nancy, is in a reading, this woman's son across the veil asked me to tell his mommy he was going to send her an owl. Trust me,
What?
this is true. That week, she opened the front door. An owl flew in the door, up the stairs, straight to her son's bedroom, and stayed there for an hour. And she had to gently shoo it out.
Oh my
Can't deny
goodness.
that one.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they want to let us know and talk about that. Why do they do that? I'll let you answer that question. Talk about this.
It's
Why do
all
they
part
do
of the evolution of humanity. It's this kind of magical, and I put that in quotes, magical occurrence that causes us to say, maybe there is something more. So they not only do it to let us know they're around and they love us and they're still with us and thinking of us, but in giving us these signs, it causes us to want to know more, to dig
Right.
some more, to listen to programs like this.
Right.
And so it just moves us along that evolutionary ladder to realizing, hey, I'm here to grow in understanding that I'm a soul and to let that soul's light shine.
Right, exactly. Now, you didn't grow up in a really religious background. Do you see that the people are breaking more away from the religions and starting to be more open in the work that we're doing?
It sure seems that way, and nothing wrong with religion. That's one method of explaining this reality, of feeling safe in this
Hmm.
reality. But more people are coming to realize it's so much more meaningful to have a personal experience of our connectedness with love and with something greater
Hmm.
besides this finite existence, than to have somebody tell us exactly how it is. So that's the difference. It's the personal experience versus being told what to believe.
Right. And I think people really feel empty, like they're unfulfilled. And that's why they buy things. And that's why we look outside of ourselves, because we're all unfulfilled. And if we could get people to understand that if they can connect with a higher power, with the divine, and realize we're not alone and fill that empty void, I think that's the key here.
Yeah, I see Susan's death caused this huge void in my chest, and I had to fill it. So I began meditating daily, hoping to meet her. And what happened, Nancy, is I couldn't stop meditating because I would sit in that silence, feeling this whole new realm myself that would have me in tears. I was feeling the peace. I was feeling the sense of connection that's lacking when we're always looking outside for it. I learned not to put my makeup on until after I meditated, because the crying was both from clearing out stuff
Right.
that wasn't true
Right.
and from the bliss of finally being home here.
Wow, that's really powerful stuff. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm trying to do too, is to tell people that, you're not alone. And you can say God, you can say source, I don't know, whatever the correct thing is today, I call it God. And that energy, that love fills us up and makes us whole. And that's how we're able to move forward every day in life, or at least I am anyway.
Yeah, and in this new course I'm teaching, I'm sharing what I've learned along the way is that we are an extension of that God, of that
Right.
light, of
Right.
that source, if you picture a sun with a ray and we're out here, the tip of that ray of light, that means we're really not separate from that. So that's how we can never really be alone. These are models we're talking about and analogies, but to have the personal experience of that power, it's not a human ego thing, but a love so intense, a fullness and completeness that just wells up when you sit in it, that leaves you realizing what you've really been missing until you take the time to shut out the outer world.
Right. And that's what the COVID's done, is shut out the outer world. That's interesting. Let's talk more about this when we come back from commercial break. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Suzanne Giesemann, and she's a medium, and her website, you guys, is www.suzannegiesemann.com if you want to check out some of her meditations. And she has a wonderful new series coming up. It actually starts tomorrow. I may check it out myself. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, it's Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. I'm here with a wonderful lady. So glad you came on the show today, Suzanne. You're a joy to talk to, and so interesting to talk to, by the way. All this stuff is just fascinating to me. I wonder what's your take on, how did we become so unspiritual? How did we go the other way, Suzanne? How did we get so materialistic? I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, because I mean, I can see.
Because, it's go back to the Industrial Revolution. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I'm just like, how did we get here?
And people realize that instead of sitting around the fire talking with the family, now we can go do things and make things, and then that leads to wanting more and making more, and then that led to computers. It's just the constant draw of external things, always trying to fill that void we were talking about. So we just have to turn things around and start going inward. Doesn't mean we can't enjoy those things, but only when we do so consciously, knowing that the only real satisfaction comes from knowing who we truly are.
Yeah, it's the balance.
Yeah.
The balancing act. I've really come to that conclusion, and that's what I tell my clients. It's a balance. You do want to have the inspiration and the fulfillment, but yeah, you want to go out and still enjoy life and do those things. But it's interesting, once you do get the balance, and once you do connect with the divine, your life changes in a more positive way, and all those outside things seem to get better. Don't you think? What do you think?
Oh, the positivity is undeniable. We start to really care about other people. We see them as souls and not separate from us. You realize that oneness really is a real thing beneath the stories. That's what I teach people to do in meditation. It's like sinking down into the ocean, and at each level you leave behind your history, your stories, your experiences, the names, everything you learned. What's left? Just being. So to experience what it feels like to not be thinking and just be. Some people might say, well, that sounds boring. Well, I'd take that any day over some of the drama we're going through this year.
No, I'm with you. Well, and it's hard because I know, and I've learned that you're supposed to live in the moment. And that's what you're talking about right now, is living in the moment and being in the now. And it's difficult. I'm working on it. You have to make a conscious effort. What's your feeling on this?
Absolutely. It's training. It's a commitment to your soul's growth. But when you have tools, and a very simple one is always starts with awareness. How are you feeling? Are you tense? Are you uptight? Are you craving something? Are you feeling incomplete? All you have to do is notice it and follow that with a deep breath that triggers the vagus nerve. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Breathe in to the count of 4, exhale slowly to the count of 6, till you feel you can't breathe out anymore, and then breathe out just a little more. It's like taking a drug, instantly calm and centered. Now you're in the now. Now you can pause and say, what's the best thing for me to do right now? It's a shift that has tremendous transformational.
All right. So you're saying if you're uptight and you get a phone call, or you're uptight about whatever, just stop, take a moment.
Because you noticed it. You're not going to now go running off and
like freaking out. Just pay attention, be aware is what you're saying of what happened, and then stop and then breathe.
But yeah, I say that people take a deep breath and they go, no, that's not it at all. It's like
Okay.
Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and exhale.
Okay.
I know you don't like dead time on the air, but that's the most valuable time you can ever spend, because right now you're present and you can decide, do I want to go back to crazy? Or do I just want to take the soul's perspective and say, isn't that interesting? That's a beautiful neutral expression my guides taught me that you could say with a smile or a laugh or with a lot of seriousness. But isn't that interesting? Is from a different perspective than within the story. And you've just become aware and awake.
It's wonderful. I think, hey, you guys, you got to tune into
100 times a day.
100 times a day. Okay, you guys, you got to turn into the YouTube channel now to see Suzanne do that. So, no, and it's true. It's true. We just need to, we're so reactive. We're so reactive, and you're exactly right. And when you can start to look at, here's what I've kind of got, here's where I'm at this point. I'm to the point where when something happens and somebody does something, I don't judge. That's my newest thing. I've learned not to judge. I've learned to look at it from, like you say, a different perspective, that you don't know their story. You don't know why they did what they did. And so you have to let everybody be on their own path, be on their own speed, live their own life, and just not judge their path. And that's kind of where I'm at with these things, because you may get a person who's not so nice, or you may, that you encounter at the store or on the phone or for whatever reason, but you don't know what's going on in their life. So what do you think about that?
You're absolutely right. But I want to ping in on what you said at the beginning there. We're so reactive. And that's because we are souls in a human body, and it's made that way. Yeah. We have the old part of the brain that goes right into reactivity, but we can override that. That's where the conditioning is part of our history, but through that training, with that breathing, with a commitment that from the part of you that says enough is enough, I'm tired of this, you can actually repattern the programs and rewire the way your body reacts. That's why you're able to not judge anymore. You've done it through conscious effort, but it doesn't have to be hard. And this is how humanity moves forward. As more of us actually do that work, we literally rewire the human body for future generations.
Yeah, that's what Louise Hay talked about, when she did all her mirror work and all that kind of stuff, and affirmations to reprogram your mind from being a different way. We are so emotional because we are humans, and we go with our emotions, but I think we don't know how to handle our emotions sometimes.
Yeah. Well, when you realize that everything is temporary, everything flows. The only thing that's not temporary is this pure state of being. And you learn to take the soul's perspective now that you're becoming aware that you're a soul and a human. Right. And the soul watches that emotion and knows it will flow through you. I was out jogging one day, and a guy rode by me with smoking a cigar, and that cigar smoke came right at me, and I went, oh God, right while I'm jogging, but it flowed right through, and I just didn't breathe for a few seconds. Well, if you do that with strong emotions, please breathe deeply. But notice it takes 90 seconds for an emotion to dissipate. But if you don't know that and observe it, it will continue to build and stay with you, eventually causing blockages that can lead to physical distress.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly, because when we hold things in and we don't release it, that's how disease sets in. And I've learned that over time. And that's why it's so important. That's so wonderful that you said that. It's so important that people just take that 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and quiet their mind.
Yeah, that's it. Not an hour, 2 hours, 5, 10 minutes.
I know. Now, do you run the I run white light down through my crown chakra and through my body every day because that's how I cleanse myself out. And I usually ask for a color. I talk about this on my show a lot because I'm trying to get people to do it. Do you do that too?
I laugh when you said that because, yes, I've done it for years. I teach it as part of my method, but we have a one-year-old puppy, and from day one she has sat in my meditation room with me. And even though her bed is off to the side, when I begin my meditations, she goes straight under the chair to sit in that shaft of white light. I have a photo of it. It's so amazing. She soaks it up.
She knows.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, because it's good energy. It's
It
like
is good energy.
divine energy coming down.
Yeah, but we don't have to just envision that when we're meditating. You walk around in that as the light.
That's true.
Turn it up as needed.
That's true. Well, and then sometimes I have to dim it when some people, I don't know, there is that other portion of it where I get people that want to attach to me because they want to attach to the light. Do you have that too, where people just want to be around you all the time because you're a bright light and it's like they're sucking your energy and you got to kind of put up those boundaries, you know what I mean?
I do. As we were talking, as I was just sharing that, though, my guides just jumped in and corrected me because I've been teaching about turning up the light and dimming it for years now. But they said, remember, the light is always on. It's always strong. The light of the soul will blind you. It's the human conditioning that covers it up. So we reveal the light or we shield it as. Isn't that cool, the difference?
I think that's really interesting that you just told us that. Yeah. Well, and you have to be careful. Like I was saying, with the light, you have people who have not found their own light and they want to attach to you to draw yours out. And you have to learn to put boundaries up was all that I was saying. Because
I completely agree. But I'm just trying to show it's an interesting perspective that we think our light dims. You see somebody who's really sad or in grief or angry and you say, oh, their light's really dim. Well, it's clouded over with their grief.
And then when you can help them bring it back.
But just help them to be aware of what's already inside them.
There you go. Okay. All right. What's the message you'd like to leave with us today? Our show is just about coming to an end here.
It's so clear that we don't realize how magnificent we are as light beings. And it's the years of conditioning of being human that have covered up that light. And so whatever your goal, if it's to connect with loved ones who have passed or just to find more peace in your world, Nancy, I'm grateful to you for helping us to share all these tools with people, but they have to find that themselves. And it's easy. Set the intention and ask to be guided. And then buckle your seatbelt.
I love it. I love it. You guys, this is great. Hey, thanks for coming on the show today. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, you guys, we'll see you next week. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity. Don't forget to check out Suzanne's website. It's www.suzannegiesemann.com. Don't forget to check out mine, nancyyearout.com, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.